Hello, everybody. This is Tim here again. Here with another movie review. This time for a film directed by Chris McKay called Tomorrow War. It stars Chris Pratt. Now, for people that don't know, Chris Pratt people should know this. If you're part of the film community, I'd be surprised if you didn't. Chris Pratt was obviously Star Lord in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies and all the Marvel films. It's also in the Jurassic World movies. I like Chris Pratt. I've never had a problem with Chris Pratt. I enjoy Chris Pratt. As far as this movie goes, it's getting good audience reactions and it's getting mostly split to negative critic reviews, I think. Um, and I'm not really sure why. Just to jump in, I'll just go ahead and say I enjoyed this film. I liked it. I don't really think it's bad at all. I mean, it's not perfect. There are problems here, obvious ones. But this is a fun movie, and I really don't see what the problem is. For anybody that doesn't know, when I do my reviews, I go from 1 to 4 stars. For this flick, I'd give it a solid 3.5 out of 4. I thought it was pretty good or really good actually watching it at home. If I watched it in theaters, it would probably just be pretty good, but watching it at home, I had a really good time with it. I'd give this a solid 3.5 out of 4. It isn't perfect. This is a B movie, just like Independence Day, and it is somewhat corny at certain points, but it is fun. Pretty much, you got Chris Pratt, who's like this ex-military guy, and he has like this problem with his dad, played by J.K. Simmons, who I wanted more of in this movie. And you find out it's because his dad was in the military or whatever, and he came back and from Nam or whatever, and he didn't want to stay with his family anymore because he was making things horrible for him because of all the traumatic experience he has, which is kind of weird because Chris Pratt seems to like really hate him until they have like a character growth to the end of the movie. That is kind of weird because Chris Pratt was also in the military, we find out. So the fact that he doesn't understand why his dad left because of all the PTSD he had from being in the war, it is kind of weird that he's not more understanding of him and of his situation, that he is just so, "I hate you, dad," over it. That is kind of weird, but I like J.K. Simmons in the movie. He was enjoyable. Chris Pratt does a great job here. He pretty much plays Chris Pratt. That's what he's been doing ever since pretty much Guardians of the Galaxy. He's just been kind of playing himself in every movie, and that's fine. He's perfectly likable on screen. It's fun to watch him. I had a perfectly good time with him. He has a daughter in the movie, and it's really a really close father-daughter relationship in the movie, which is kind of corny at first a little bit, but I did get into it later on, and they have good chemistry. Him and the woman playing his wife and the girl playing his daughter does. And pretty much you got like these people who show up in the middle of this big stadium game and they're like, "We're from the future. The human race has been nearly wiped out by aliens. We've come to recruit people to help fight in the cause or whatever for the future war," which is why it's called the Tomorrow War because it hasn't happened yet. And that's pretty much the gist of the movie. And pretty much 99% of the population is dead in the future, and they got to recruit just anybody they can to go off and fight against these things. And later on, you find out in the movie that when Chris Pratt, obviously we know he's going to get recruited, he does. He ends up going, and you get like this really emotional scene with him and his family. You do get some like corny like war stuff and all that. That's kind of played out. It's been in other movies a lot. Like you get like this black comedy relief character who shows up, and he's just kind of really over the top annoying at first, but I did warm up to him as the movie went along because the longer he was in the movie and his character got toned down as the movie went along, and he was much less annoying, and he was honestly fun to watch. And by the end of the movie, I liked him. And I like J.K. Simmons. And they had this other black guy in there who was another supporting character who was like this dude that was like dying from cancer or whatever. And he wanted to go out on his own terms and he kept going to fight in the war because he just didn't really care about anything because he viewed everything as pointless. And he has an arc pretty much where he decides to stand up and take the creatures out by the end and go out on his own terms in life. And I really enjoyed him. That's one thing. I like the side characters here and I wanted more of them, and that was kind of a problem here with this movie. I wanted more of them. But at the end of the day, this is Chris Pratt's movie, and even though I really liked, and even though I can go with that, I can accept that, but I really did want more of these side characters to kind of disappear for a while, especially after the first big mission they show where they go into the future and they all start getting like wiped out by this attack. And what's kind of cool is they got to recruit like average people because all the real military people are dead, and this big explosion happens and these people like stand their ground or whatever. This fat dude gets blowed up and everything. It was pretty cool action scene, and I like the design of the creatures. They're pretty cool, but they're also really mindless. Like this film is not about the alien creatures. Like they're just kind of like these creatures similar to a quiet place where they just run around and attack and eat you, and that's pretty much it. Um, and that's all we pretty much learn about them. They're just some kind of extraterrestrial who just showed up in Russia one day and have just been killing people ever since and wiping out the planet just by eating people. I thought there was going to be some kind of twist by the end of the movie to find out that they were like some kind of man-made, government experience or experiment, maybe for population control or something even. But by the end, no, they're just aliens. That's what we find out. But we do get it hinted that when they find like their saucer at the end of the movie, we do get it hinted that they were probably like some kind of biological weapon, like sent to like take out a planet's population or whatever. Maybe they were like some kind of thing by created from like a maybe they were like a bio weapon created from like a higher up alien, like made to like wipe out a planet or something. And they theorize that maybe they accidentally landed on Earth or whatever. But we don't know. But, yeah, you find out that the girl soldier or whatever is the female soldier is actually Chris Pratt's grown-up daughter in the future, and she tells him about what happened and how he came back from the war or whatever from the future time, and he was changed just like his dad. But they don't really go into that enough, about, it would have been neater if we could have, like, seen some kind of evolution like that with his character. But yeah, this is pretty much just an action vehicle B flick. It is kind of corny at first with the people like showing up in the future from in the stadium or whatever, like "We need you." It is kind of corny, but and once you get into the movie and it actually gets into the future stuff, where they're actually going around blasting the aliens and stuff, it is pretty cool. And you get some really good action scenes. But like I said, the alien creatures are just kind of mindless monsters. This movie isn't really about them. It's about the human characters and mostly Chris Pratt. If you like this movie, it's because, like me, you like Chris Pratt. So he pretty much is the movie. And I can go with that. I'm fine with that. It's a star vehicle for him. That's totally fine with me. I like Chris Pratt. I liked him here. He carries the movie. Pretty much his daughter. You get this. She's like attacking the queen alien because it's like a hive-minded thing. But it is kind of convenient that the queen is like unguarded. Like there's no more like aliens around. They actually start showing up later when she starts getting attacked, and you get to see where they all jump like glide, and this dude like rams a helicopter blades into him and slices them to pieces. It's a pretty cool action scene. But yeah, it is kinda weird that she was, like, left unguarded and everything by the creatures. I mean, by the other creatures, by the male creatures. It is kinda weird. But it is still a pretty cool action scene. They get her, they take her blood, they wanna create this toxin that they can kill the creatures with, and the creatures, like, attack to save the queen, and his future daughter gets killed, but he's gonna be able to take the toxin and go back and kill the creatures and find them before they actually, or we find them before the war starts so you can wipe them out, and we find out they were actually in, like, cryogenic suspension or whatever, for their saucer was, like, frozen in, Russia or Antarctica or whatever, and they gotta go there, and they're inside a volcano, and they gotta inject them all with the toxin and pretty much blow them up. So, one thing interesting is you wonder what, they just kinda the time travel stuff in here is just kinda gobbledygook, but you just gotta let that kinda go when it comes to movies like this. You just have to. All time travel movies have this kind of flaw, so I can just overlook it. Um but yeah, it does make me wonder though, like if he does go back in time and changes everything, does the alternate future where his daughter becomes like a soldier and everything, does that just like bleep out of existence and just never happens and they make a totally new version of herself in the future with him, still alive and all that? Or does that become like an alternate timeline? I mean, I don't know. It's just something interesting to think about. But yeah, he goes back in time, or goes back to the present. He heads up there with his dad, J.K. Simmons, back in the movie, and the other two black dudes show back up, comedy relief guy and the cancer dude. They head up there, and the cancer dude sacrificed himself by like blowing the place up, but one of the creatures is still alive. And we get a neat action scene where J.K. Simmons and the comedy relief like dude or whatever are like fighting this alien. And he jerks out like a buzzsaw thing and like saws into the creature's head, which was pretty cool. And then it comes down to the final with the fight between the queen alien who like got out of there or whatever. And yes, it is reminiscent of the movie Aliens with the queen and all that, but that's been done to death. Who cares at this point? Everything takes from something else, and this is a B movie. So you get the Queen alien like fighting J.K. Simmons and Chris Pratt, and you get the idea that J.K. Simmons is gonna like sacrifice himself because he like cuts himself and blood attracts the creatures, which I'm not sure how he knows that, but maybe that's widespread news by now. And he's getting ready to sacrifice himself to take the creature like over the mountain with him. But then Chris Pratt like jumps on its head and slits its throat and then shoves like the toxin in its mouth and keeps saying "die, die" and knocks it over the hill or whatever and it disintegrates. Then he falls over and J.K. Simmons is like, "You said die." It actually worked. You should have done that before. That was pretty funny. I like the fact that J.K. Simmons doesn't die, though. That subverts expectations. I enjoyed that. And then you get to the final scene, it's him reunited with his family, and you get the idea that they've changed history and everything's going to be all right, and that's the end of the movie. So, yeah, all in all, I felt like they could have played up on the drama of him becoming more like his father or whatever and kind of playing off how they were becoming similar and how maybe he did start to just want to be in the war or whatever and get away from his family and all that. But they don't really do that. And I think that was kind of a missed opportunity. So all in all, I'd give it 3.5 out of 4 out of that. I had a really good time with it. I thought this was a pretty good movie, perfectly enjoyable. Perfectly enjoyable B flick. I thought it was pretty good. I've heard talk that they thinking about doing a sequel to it. This movie was made by Paramount Pictures, but then sold to like Amazon Prime, I guess because of COVID or whatever. It was pretty. It was pretty good movie that I had a really good time with. I heard talk that yeah, I've heard rumors that they're thinking about doing a sequel. I don't really think you need a sequel to this. Like the whole thing about the girl in the future, like being his older daughter or whatever, that was kind of cliche, and that did bring the movie down a little bit for me. When this movie started, it was kind of corny, and I was wondering what I was going to think about. But by the end, I had a really good time with it, just in terms of pure entertainment value. But yeah, I don't really think this needs a sequel. And how would you even do a sequel? I don't know, because the creatures are all dead by the end of this. I mean, you could always say, yeah, this one random one survived or whatever, or you could like maybe do a movie from the future's point of view or something, or the alternate future, I guess now. Or you could like show the aliens who sent maybe the bioweapon type alien creatures to Earth or whatever. I guess you could do one maybe from their point of view or something, or have them show up or whatever and just make a whole new war. Maybe you could do that, but I don't know. Maybe that would seem kind of cheap. I don't really think this needs a sequel unless it's like a really good idea. But hey, they're Hollywood writers; they get paid to do it. Whatever. If you can get Chris Pratt back, go for it. Why not? Could be enjoyable. But yeah, all in all, I enjoyed this film. I don't really see why critics have such a problem with it. I mean, I really don't get it. But yeah, all in all, 3.5 out of 4, perfectly enjoyable B flick alien invasion movie. If you like those kinds of films, you should like this. If you like Chris Pratt, you should like this. I see no reason why you wouldn't. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again.